Hello and welcome to Soul GPS. My name is Ava, and today I wanted to talk to you about the topic, the question, why are we attracted to narcissists? What is it that makes people go back into these relationships and repeat these patterns? Before I jump in, I wanted to welcome you to my channel. If it's your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please do subscribe, like, all of those actions help to spread the word for me. And if it is your regular visit, then it's very good to see you again, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments below. So this is a question that comes up a lot in my work with the clients, and they're asking, this is like my fifth relationship, or this is my, I'm again with this person. I met another one. Like, what is it? Am I attracting them? There's a lot of talk about attraction, law of attraction out there right now. It's become like quite the trend, and so people are wondering. They're trying to break the pattern and they're not quite sure how to do it. So here's my take. First of all, I don't think we have the power to turn into magnets and attract a very certain type of person into our life on a regular basis. Instead, what I think happens is that we're exposed to a variety of people on a daily basis, and some of them are just more attractive to us or more intriguing to us than others. Not to mention the fact that narcissists take great care in approaching others because they want others to do their bidding. They want others to do things for them. So you could say they use people for whatever their means may be, whether it's to draw supply in form of attention or money or sex or what have you. So there is that, that dynamic where they appear very attractive, and I'm going to talk to you today about why they appear attractive rather than about some magical power that exists out there that attracts them to you. I'm going to tell you why you're interested in them, but they're also very much interested in you because they see that you're interested in them, so that opens the door and makes it easier to make contact and then proceed with exploitation. So to get to this topic, what I want to do is I need to go back to our childhood, right? Everything really stems from there, from that time where we were little, and the kind of models we were exposed to, the kind of relationships that became our foundational relationships that then created patterns inside of our psyches that we now have a tendency to repeat because they seem familiar. So I want to talk about the work of Dr. Gabor Mate here because I think he really nailed it, and he's not the only one. He just, he's a accumulation of so much wisdom and knowledge, and he can say it in such eloquent way that it's difficult not to quote him. But this is what I'm going to do now, is actually go back to what he said, and what he said is that when a child is born into this world, in order for that child to develop properly without later on, relational problems arising. I mean, there's some degree of problems that will arise one way or the other because we live in a very complex world. We all had different types of upbringing, and our psyches are complex to begin with. So there's no way to avoid the conflict. But to make it easier to have good relationships, we first need to have a good relationship with ourselves, and that begins with the message that we receive as children from our caretakers, so from our parents. And the fundamental message that needs to be communicated across to a child somewhere between 0 and 5, 6 years old in order for them to function properly and not seek love from toxic places is that they're loved just for who they are. Not for what they look like, not for what they do, not that they are loved conditionally when they behave like this and not like that. It has to be very holistic, and it has to be very unconditional. A young human being that has that certainty sort of wired into them, into their nervous system, is going to be less likely to go out and look for love from places that are not healthy for them. Okay, it's not a hard rule. Anyone can fall into the trap, but the more of that inner stability you have, where you feel like you are a worthy human being, that you're loved for who you are in that foundational level, the better you're going to function in your relationships. So what happens then if someone doesn't have that, right? Which unfortunately I think majority of humans don't have that. Some get it from one parent, not from the other. Some don't get it from either, and some get a little bit from each, and everything in between, right? So it's usually a combination. What happens to a person like that as it grows up is that it continuously will seek a way to prove to herself or himself that it can be loved, that it is loved, right? So what this means is that love becomes a way of, it's something to earn. Love becomes something to earn, something to work towards, and something to give something up for. Okay, so what I think happens later in the adulthood is that when we encounter a person who is likely to reject us, because we're talking about a pattern of rejection here, that the parents, the original caretakers, are somehow communicating to the child that you're not good enough, then people who will perceive us in a similar way, or where there is maybe the danger of that happening. So let's say it's like a very charismatic individual who's surrounded with a lot of admirers for whom your presence may or may not have value, right? That person will become attractive because now if they love you, if you're able to do enough for them to love you, that will somehow hang over your head the promise that it will make you okay, that now you're worthy. It will restore the sense of self-worth, right? And ultimately, the place where we're all going to, or the place which we all seek, we can dress it up in psychological jargon, we can dress it up in beautiful rainbow-colored spirituality, but what it all boils down to is feeling like I'm okay, right? And so we're looking for that in other people because we weren't communicated that when we were younger. And so these kinds of relationships become something that I would qualify it as a place of emotional transaction taking place. When I look back at my own relationships, whether they were with potential partners, or whether they were with friends, or whether they were at work, or because it's in all areas of life, with those types of people where I felt they had something that I didn't, that I lacked inside of me. They were attractive to me, and I moved towards them because I felt like I could get something, some kind of an emotional satisfaction from the fact that they gave me a little bit of their attention, or they gave me a hug, or they gave me a praise or something. And I mean, to some extent, the way we're wired as humans is we're very social beings, and we are all constantly emotionally transacting with one another. Like it's just part of life. But I think it can become a little bit unhealthy when it is on a level of feeling like you need to fill something essential up within yourself in order to function, right? Like without it, you can't function. And unfortunately, as I'm sure you know, when you enter into relationships with narcissists, after a relatively short period of time, some sort of an addiction kicks in, and you feel like if you don't get it, you're not going to be able to function. And so without it, like, you can't go on. You need to have it. And so it sets up this vicious cycle of relating that is very much based on codependence, emotional codependence, and can lock you in a relationship that can be very difficult to come out of, because without it, again, you feel like you can't function. So it's a pretty heavy and complex dynamic, and I think that, again, this question of why do I keep doing it, it really points down to not having this certitude deep inside that you are okay without this person, that you're really loved just as you are, and you don't need to prove yourself, you don't need to work hard for love. Just by the fact that you are is enough. And now, how do you get that as an adult, right? If you didn't get it as a child, I mean, I guess this is the million-dollar question. And I think that what it boils down to is a multi-layered approach. It's a lot of things help us create that netting, that solid internal netting that will make you feel good about yourself. Let's just say majority of the time, because there are moments when we just don't, and that's okay too. And that is getting to know yourself and loving yourself. Again, easy to say, harder to do. It's a process. It takes time. And this is something that I do when I work with people, is we identify these places where love is lacking and that where we need to shine that light. Now it sounds like a spiritual healer, but I'm not. It's not what I do. It's a little bit more. It's based more in, I would say, psychology than it is in spirituality. But it also links. It touches these places too, because it's all interconnected. But loving yourself, pulling back these parts of yourself that you have rejected or that have been rejected by others, which led to self-rejection. That's also part of this process, integrating those parts back inside. And then also forming healthy relationships, knowing who to choose to be in your network. And then ultimately knowing how to choose your partner well. It's a very important relationship, the one you're going to choose to spend your life with, whether part of your life or the rest of your life. It's a very important relationship, and knowing how to choose that person is also really important. And that all comes down to self-knowledge, to boundaries. Where are those boundaries? Where, how much are you willing to take? How much responsibility for the other person are you willing to take? And how much responsibility for yourself? These are all really big topics. And then when your boundaries are trampled upon, at which point do you say enough? And at which point do you continue making excuses for this person? Where are your standards? How much do you believe in yourself and your intuition, your soul GPS that tells you, gives you accurate information, accurate interpretation of the situation that you're in. So all of these different factors really play a role. But in this video specifically, I wanted to answer this question. I hope I did. I'd love to know your comments, your point of view. How did you take this? What do you think? Do you think it's accurate? Do you think it's not? I'm open to all points of view, all kinds of comments. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. If there is an inner emptiness that you're seeking for other people to fill, you will be vulnerable. That doesn't mean that you only meet narcissists, no, but you will be more vulnerable to meeting these people because you're going to feel attraction towards them. Versus if you feel self-filled, or if you have multiple sources that fill you up, such as friends, you have, say, a great sister or a cousin, or a fantastic work relationship, or you have a career that you really enjoy, you have a sense of purpose, or you love working on yourself physically, you love dance or acting or what have you, or you love to travel. Again, we're creating a net, a lattice of support, of inner support that will carry you through this and will make it more likely that the person, the partner that you end up being with, and it doesn't matter at what age, because it can happen at all ages. It doesn't matter that you were in your 40s, that you missed the train. It's not true. Actually, recently I heard a beautiful story of a man who met the love of his life at 62. So really can happen at any time. But it will sustain you until you're able to meet that person, to meet the right person, to surround yourself with a supportive network of friends and people who wish you well. And that can be incredibly healing. So yeah, we do need each other to feel whole in some ways. I don't mean in all ways. I don't want to say that without another person you're not going to feel whole. That's not true. You can fill yourself up, but it requires different kinds of food, so to speak, to satisfy yourself, and it takes practice, and it's something you do on a daily basis. Or you can take another path towards it, which is I would say, ultra spiritual path, and that is to just release it all, relinquish it all, and just learn to be with yourself in pure emptiness, right? And then, you are unwavered in that state, and it doesn't matter what happens on the outside, because inside you're connected to your source. So you can do that too, or you can do all of those things We're normally, I think, dynamic creatures. Things change, things shift depending on the day, depending on what's happening in our lives, and we may have different needs. And actually, I'm glad I just said that, because needs, knowing your needs, knowing what they are on an essential level, it's also a great key to knowing how to navigate through the world so that you feel fulfilled, and again, not seeking, not striving for scraps of love in unhealthy places. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Do share this video if you find it appropriate for your friends, for your family. Maybe you know someone who needs it. And again, thank you for being here. And I look forward to catching up with you another time. Bye-bye.